Welcome to the Sports Talk with Byall. This week we'll discuss, debate, and answer tough questions in the sports world. During this week's show, we'll recap everything going on in sports, including the NBA and NHL playoffs. Indeed, we'll talk about the NBA playoffs. It's in full swing right now in the semifinals, Eastern and Western Conference. Which one do you want to go on first? Let's go on the Nuggets first. The Nuggets, defending champs, now get the series tied back up at 2-2 after going down 2-0 to the Timberwolves, winning 2 games on the road. Road team has not lost yet. Also, I remember last week we talked about could the Nuggets come back and win. We both said that they could, but obviously some things have to change. What do you think has changed the most for the Nuggets getting back into the series?
Yeah, I just think their drive. They look more motivated. They're out hustling. I think the Timberwolves, and I think the best thing for the Nuggets happened, which they had that 4-game rest. Like I said, that little 4-game rest there was very nice for them. And I don't know, it pretty much was a new series started all over because you got a decent amount of time off because they wanted to get the series lined up for the TV scheduling and all that. But I said it last week. I thought the Nuggets could come back, and I thought as long as they got 1, I thought they could win the series, and they got 2. So I definitely think this is starting to shift into the favor of the defending champions.
Yeah, last week I said that Jamal Murray needed to be better. He certainly has been better. In Game 3, he was 11-21, 24 points, and then in Game 4, he was 8-17, 19 points. Before that, he was only 3-18 and 6-14, with 7 and 8 points. So I think Jamal Murray's been big, but after the game, I think the other night, Anthony Edwards' press conference, it was at the end where he got up and he's like, Aaron Gordon, geez. He's like, Aaron Gordon was 11-12 in Game 4, 27 points. So obviously, when we talked about it before this on the show, but role players are the most important players in the play. Obviously, you need a superstar or star, and obviously the Nuggets have that with Jokic. And I guess I don't know if I call Murray a superstar, but he's a good player and then a player you need to win a championship. But they have multiple role players: Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter, Caldwell Pope. Christian Braun made a couple big shots in that game. And I remember the biggest part in that game was when I think the Timberwolves got it down to, I think it was 7. And then the Nuggets had that end of the half where Porter had a dunk, someone hit a 3, and then Jamal Murray hit that half-court shot at the end, which kind of turned the game, and the Nuggets really kind of controlled the rest of the game, and I don't think the Timberwolves ever led the rest of the way.
The Nuggets were up by 15, 20 for a decent amount of the game, and then the Timberwolves came back at the end, but the Nuggets were pretty much in control of both games on the road last week. So.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if the home team can get a win in this series. Obviously, Denver's returning home tonight at 10:30. Let's see if they can get a win and go up 3-2 in the series, win 3 games in a row. Other games, the Pacers come home and dominate Game 4 and Game 3. Nice shot by Nembhard when the game was tied to win that game. The game was 106-106. He hit the 3. It's 31 feet. Buries it. Goes up. Brunson comes down. Tries to draw a foul. Doesn't get the foul, surprisingly. And the Pacers win that game. Obviously, with this series, both these teams are kind of new to the playoffs, and not new to, but obviously history, but recently neither one of these teams has had success in the playoffs. Both these teams now fighting for a shot to get the Eastern Conference Finals. Who do you think has the advantage right now, Austin, between the Knicks and the Pacers?
I 100% think it's the Pacers. The Knicks are injured badly, and you can tell by every single move by most of their players. And then just with Jalen Brunson, he did not look the same in the last game they played. He just was the last 2, honestly, he looked like he's a little slower with his step, and like I said, the playoffs are brutal, and playing this long of a season is brutal on players' bodies and all that. So I definitely think the Pacers have the advantage, and I think their role players are playing a huge factor in why they're winning games.
Yeah, the Pacers were up big on Sunday, 69-41 at halftime. Basically a rest day for all the stars. Even the Knicks players, they got a rest too. So, both these teams coming in, resting Game 5 tonight. It'll be interesting to see if the Knicks can get back on track, or if the Pacers can take advantage and go up 3-2 in this series. The other series, the Mavericks last night versus Thunder. That series was 2-1 going into Game 4. Mavericks looked like they were going to win that game. They were up the whole game. The only time the Thunder were leading was, I believe, 4-2 in the first quarter. Mavericks led the whole way. Ended up blowing a lead with 3:24 left. The first lead the Thunder had since it was 4-2. 89-86 with the Chet Holmgren 3, they went up. in the series, Austin, we always talk about how Luka hasn't had his game yet, and he didn't play really well last night either. Do you think in this for the Mavericks to maybe possibly go to go even win the series, but even go further, does Lucas have to play better?
I think he definitely does. I mean, he hasn't. I think he's averaging like 22, 23 points this series. So that's not. I mean, for Luka, that's not good. I mean, the guy to average 30-something points in the regular season. I mean, he's just not performed well, and I definitely know that he knows that. But I just don't see them having any shot of winning past this round if he can't drop a 35, 40-point game here, especially since now the home field advantage is now went back to the Thunder. He's definitely going to have a big game at OKC to help them win the series.
Yeah, you could point to Kyrie and Luka being the reason why the Mavericks didn't win last night. Combined for 27 points on 10 of 31 shooting, only 2 of 11 for 3. Luka did miss a big free throw at the end of the game to tie it. Instead, they go down 1. They have to foul. They make both their free throws. So, I mean, and that was a big part of the game last night was free throws. The Thunder were 23-24. The Mavericks were only 12-23. So, I think, obviously, Luka needs to be better. I know he's battling a knee injury right now, and obviously that's never fun for a star player to be injured during the playoffs because it kind of takes away from what it could be and what could potentially happen. But, yeah, Luka needs to be better. He did have a triple-double last night, so, I mean, you can say what you want, but Luka's still great. And then the Celtics and Cavs. This is the only series that is not 2-2, with the Mavericks Thunder being 2-2, Timberwolves Nuggets being 2-2, Knicks Pacers 2-2. And now the Celtics and Cavs, the only series not. Celtics are up 3-1, winning last night 109-102 without Donovan Mitchell. Austin, I know you're a Boston Celtics hater, mostly a Jason Tatum hater. You were upset last night watching that game. Why were you upset?
The Celtics just have an easiest path in the world. I mean, they've played injured teams, and they just. I mean, if they were on the West. Yeah, and they wouldn't be a top 3 team. So I just think that they get a weak path, and I'm tired of watching. I'm tired of watching a team that plays easy competition every night. I mean, they play the Heat, who are not even a top 15 team in the league with the roster they had they could have been debatably one of the worst teams in the East with the roster they had out there in the playoffs. And then they go and play the Cavs, and then Donovan Mitchell gets hurt, and it's just like. Even Celtics fans will admit they've had a lucky path right now, and the East isn't really the hardest in the world, so we'll see. But I don't know.
They're missing one of their star players, Porzingis. He's out with injury. They can't use that excuse.
I mean, I think some of the Celtics fans are happy he's out. He didn't really do anything in the playoffs anyway, the first round. So,
what is the real reason why you don't like the Celtics? Is it just you don't like Tatum? Is that why?
I just think I don't like Tatum mostly, and I just think they had an easy path, and it's annoying to watch a team that gets a cupcake walk when the West is out there battling every night.
I guess that's fair. That's fair. But the Celtics are a great team. I think it was ridiculous saying they wouldn't be a top 2 team in the West. They did have the best record in basketball this year. They do have a good roster, though. I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, 2 guys on max contracts. Derek White, one of the best defensive players in the NBA, with Drew Holiday probably the best defensive perimeter player in the NBA. Then with Porzingis, he had a big role this year. Injuries obviously has always bothered him. And then Al Horford, who didn't shoot the ball well last night, but is a key factor for them. And Peyton Pritchard had some nice baskets last night. Do you think the Cavs have any shot at coming back in this series?
Do
you think they get a game?
Nope, it's over. It's been over.
Yeah, well, it kind of depends if Donovan Mitchell plays. If he plays last night, they could have won that game. And I've been really impressed with Evan Mobley in this series. I feel like he's without Jared Allen this series and with the last couple of games, he's really kind of stepped into a role that he hasn't had yet. And I've been really impressed with him. And I think the Cavaliers, obviously, there were questions of maybe Donovan Mitchell moving on from the Cavaliers this offseason. But I do think that Evan Mobley could be a nice piece to build around. Obviously, he can score the ball, really good defensive player around the rim. So that I think the Cavaliers could be good next year.
I guess I should clarify. I guess there's 2 teams I'd take over the Celtics, and then they'd be third.
Who would that be?
I'm taking the Nuggets, and I'm taking the Timberwolves.
You're not taking the Thunder?
They're too young. That's what that'd be a third team that I could possibly.
What about I think the Mavericks are good too.
They're all good. The whole West is good. Not the East. The East has like 2 good teams.
So hypothetically, if Giannis and Embiid were healthy, do you think the Bucks and 76ers win their respective series?
I think the Bucks could win. I don't know if the 76ers could. It'd be a better series. I just feel like they've had easier. They have it. I mean, they've had an easy path. It's nothing against Celtics. I mean, they deserve the path they've got, but like they just. Injuries have happened. It should be harder than this, but they just playing against teams that aren't without their star. I mean, the Heat was just a disgrace in the playoffs. They should have just kicked them out as soon as.
Well, they earned it.
They didn't earn nothing with the guys out there on the floor.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's frustrating about the about playoffs or like the postseason sometimes with sports is that injuries and that. I remember when Giannis won the championship, you were saying that if KD and their team was healthy, they would have won a championship, and all the injuries excuses, which sucks because it devalues the championship and some of the ways that guys win their first championship or their legacy. But at the same time, it's like everyone has injuries. Like you can't just.
Well, the Bucks were great that year anyway, so it was either the Nets or the Bucks that were going to win that.
Hey, the Suns were up 2-0 in that series. They blew it. Bucks won 4 straight. Devin Booker couldn't find a way to get it done. Now they trade their whole team away for KD, and now they're in shambles there.
Yeah, because you need role players. Like we talked about earlier, role players are the key part of winning games. Look at the Pacers.
Well, I don't think it takes a genius to realize that Suns had 0 role players, and they're not going to have any.
No.
They got 3 guys on max contracts. But we'll not get into that discussion again. Other playoffs going on. The NHL playoffs are kind of heating up. The Rangers, I believe they were 3-0. Were they up 3-0?
Yeah, they were up 3-0.
They were 3-0, and now it's 3-2. I mean, obviously, I was listening to the Pat McAfee yesterday, and they had some guy on who was 6-time champion. I'm blanking on his name. But he said Game 5 is the hardest game to win, especially when you're up 3-1. Well, he was talking about when teams are up 3-1. And last night, the Rangers were faced with that with the Hurricanes. They were up 3-1. Go ahead and lose that game. Now it goes back to Carolina, where they have to play and possibly force a Game 7, which would put all the pressure on the Rangers. The Panthers and Bruins are in that situation right now, where the Panthers are up 3-1 after losing Game 1. It'll be curious to see if Boston can win and stay alive tonight. The Stars and Avalanche, the Stars push that series to 3-1, and then the Canucks and Oilers are 2-1. This will be interesting here to see who kind of gets away in this NHL series, if some of these teams can finish out the deal, or some of these teams can keep it alive. Obviously, this show is not a massive golfing show, but another major this week. The PGA Championship is going on this week. This is the Valhalla Golf Club in Kentucky this week. Last year's winner was Brooks Koepka. Austin, obviously, you and I don't watch golf every week, but we do watch the majors. Are you excited to get back into seeing golf this week? Scotty Scheffler's back this week. Rory won last week in the PGA. Interesting to see with all the live guys coming back for the majors. Are you excited to watch this week?
Yeah, I love watching the majors. Any major tournament in golf is fun to watch, in my opinion. It's 4 days of great golf, and it's fun to keep up with, especially with all the live and the PGA guys together, because, so there's been a lot of guys that have went over to live, so PGA is not as fun to watch without, both of them combined like it is in the majors. So.
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to give a breakdown here because I have no idea what this course is like or who's break down all these guys' games. But I will ask you for a prediction. Who do you think wins?
I think Scotty comes back and wins again. I mean, these guys on top. The one thing that maybe could hurt him is he has been playing golf recently because he had a kid, so that could maybe hurt him since he's not been out there, I assume, on the course every day like most of these guys have. But he's the best golfer in the world. He'll find a way to get it done.
He is currently plus 300 to win. That is very low odds for Scotty Scheffler. That does concern me a little bit, though, that he's been playing in a month, or I think it was a month, since he won I think he played the week after the Masters, but he's been off for a while, and that could maybe get loosened up, but I think he'll be all right. And then the Warriors, and after winning last week's Wells Fargo tournament, he is second odds with plus 600, and then Brooks Koepka is third with 1,000. I'm going to go Brooks Koepka to win this thing. I saw a thing that this course was very, very long. This would benefit Brooks Koepka, who can absolutely blast the ball. So I'll take not the favorite. I'll take Brooks Koepka to win it all. Others news in the sports world, the NFL schedule released. The NFL is always in the news. There's only a month span where the NFL is kind of just dead and no one talks about it, but still get talked about. Some of the games are already being released. Opening night was announced yesterday. Chiefs versus Ravens. Defending champs are taking on a rematch of the AFC Championship last year, where the Ravens did fall at home. Everyone kind of thought this was the Ravens' year to win it all last year, and then they fall to the Chiefs, who have continued to reign dominance in the NFL. And then this is already news before yesterday or any time recently. Friday night, that opening night, Friday night, will be Eagles versus Packers in Brazil. That'll be interesting to see. NFL is expanding its global outreach to a different country. And also in week 1, Tom Brady's first debut in the press box with, I'm blanking on the guy's name he does it with, but he will be on there. Cowboys versus Browns week 1 on Fox at 4:25, America's Game of the Week. Surprised it's the Cowboys. And then Monday night, just announced a couple minutes ago that the Jets and 49ers will play Monday night. Kind of look back to last year where Aaron Rodgers played Monday night, 9-11 versus the Bills, tears his Achilles 4 plays into the Jets' offensive season. Austin, And also week 2, there was just announced a couple minutes ago that Cincinnati plays the Chiefs. Out of all these, I believe, 5 games, 6 games? Which one of these games are you most intrigued for?
The Chiefs, Bengals.
That was a dumb question.
Yeah, I think Burrow Mahomes matchup's always the best matchup you can watch. I mean, I'd say the second best matchup's probably the Chiefs Ravens, just because it's opening night. But Rodgers. Anytime Rodgers out there,
all these games,
they're all good games. I'd say the worst game is probably going to be the Eagles Packers.
No,
I don't even know. It's Browns Cowboys. Definitely.
Yeah, that's not even a question.
I don't know. It's just because
Eagles
the Browns.
Packers.
Well,
the Packers almost went to the Super Bowl.
The Eagles just aren't that good. I'm sorry. They're not going to be that good this year. They were overrated last year. You know it too. We all both agreed on it. So I don't think they're going to be that good this year, especially without Kelsey. I mean, he was the heart and soul of the tush push.
Yeah, we'll see how that.
I think that's gonna.
Well, they did acquire Saquon Barkley, so that helped the running game last year. They didn't lack the running game. But
Swift, he was high in yards.
Yeah, no, Swift was only good because of the O-line. So
that's how I need running back.
But I just got a text on my phone that that game will be played. The Jets 49ers game will be played at the 49ers this year, so the Jets will travel out there. I remember the last time Aaron Rodgers played out there I believe it was a Sunday night where him and Devontae Adams had a massive game. That's my fantasy. Aaron Rodgers, my fantasy quarterback. He had I think it was where he threw a pass across the middle right over Fred Warner's hand, and the next play throws another pass right over someone else's hand. Mason Crosby comes out, kicks a field goal for the win. Packers win Sunday night.
Usually struggle with the field goals, so.
Yeah,
recent years they have Packers.
Mason Crosby, that's why he's not there anymore. But hey, he could have been their kicker last year was even worse. Let's give us a prediction on some of these NBA playoffs. A lot of series is 2-2. Who do you think wins Mavericks vs. Thunder series? 2-2.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Mavericks still. I really do think they're gonna still win. I just don't think Luka has been his best that he can possibly be in the playoffs. So I'm taking the Mavericks.
In 6 or 7?
7. We're going 7.
Going 7. Which one? They win. Do they win tomorrow night or win Game 6? Oh, they get them both on the road.
I say they win Game 6 and 7.
So they say Thunder blew a 3-2 lead. What about the Timberwolves and Nuggets? That series is 2-2. Do you think the
Nuggets fully win this series? I really do.
6 or 7?
I think it's gonna be in 7. I think it'll be 7. I think the Nuggets will win the next one. Timberwolves come home, get a game, and then Nuggets will go home, get the last game.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert needs to play better for the Timberwolves. That guy cannot guard.
I mean, in all seriousness, his shoulders have been hurt in the last 2 games for them. I don't know what Cat was doing in the last. He wasn't even in the game in Game 4, so I don't even, at the end of the game.
He was in the game. He couldn't make a shot.
He was subbed out.
His presence was felt because he couldn't make a shot. But yeah, Anthony Edwards is a beast. But Rudy Gobert, I believe he's 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year this year. I know Jokic is the best player in the world right now, but golly, he could not stay. He's just falling for every shot fake. Jokic is doing whatever he wants. They got to put Gobert on Aaron Gordon, who's 11 or 12. I mean, that says a lot about Rudy Gobert, Aaron Gordon, the guy they put him on in the dunker spot because he couldn't guard him on the perimeter.
Easy.
I'm just saying, I don't have any Rudy. I mean, I kind of want the Timberwolves to win. I like watching Ant, but I really don't care who wins this game. But Rudy Gobert's got to be better. What about the Knicks Pacers?
Pacers all the way. I think the Pacers win the next 2 games.
I don't know about that.
I do. I think the Pacers win the next 2 games. Right now, they're the better team. Hey, if they play a good defense, man, Pacers, they're elite, bro. They have so many role players. They have any player on any given night, like 6, 7 guys that can
score. They have a good bench.
25, 30 points. So,
but they got Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, he is, but he's injured. The Knicks are injured. They are. I mean, like we said, they had some reports about Tom Thibodeau, how he runs his guys, or works them, I guess, too hard, so they get injured.
You better be preaching the same narrative. A couple years ago, you were preaching the narrative about the injuries. We're preaching it this year too. This isn't a one-way. This isn't a one-way street here, buddy. You better make sure the injury excuse is valid for everyone here, since it was only valid for the Nets a couple years ago with KD. And you already said the Celtics and was going to close that out in Game 5.
Yeah, they're close.
I'll take the Mavericks to win that series too. I think they should have won that game last night. I mean, they blew that game. Couldn't make free throws. And I'll take the Timberwolves to still beat the Nuggets in Game 7. I think Nuggets, Timberwolves, and I think that Timberwolves win Game 7. Then I'll go Knicks still to win that series. I don't trust the Pacers. I really don't.
You've been a hater on the Pacers from the start.
Because they're not that good.
They are good.
If Giannis is healthy,
they're the second best team in the East right now.
No, they're not.
It's second best in the East right now.
No, they're not. Well, they might be because the East is just that bad. But
I'd say they're the third best team with everyone fully healthy.
No.
Yes.
No.
Who is? Sure, it's not 76ers. They do not look good.
Are you talking about everyone there?
Yeah.
The Bucks are the second best team.
I said the Pacers are third.
No, 76ers.
No.
Yes, they are.
I think 76ers.
Or maybe the Knicks. I don't know.
Knicks are, I don't.
DiVincenzo, the Villanova
They only got
boys.
Benedict Mather in the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player.
Top 3 on their team.
There's a lot of, no, he's not.
He's probably their third best
Scorer maybe, but not player. All right. What do you think about the Austin Rivers claiming that 30 NBA players could play in the NFL? Do you think that's true?
I don't think 30, but I think his claims that NBA players could play in the NFL more than NFL players could play in the NBA is 100%. I mean, I don't see a problem with him coming out and saying that. I don't know about 30, but LeBron James or someone like that. I mean, come on, man. There's no player in the NFL right now besides maybe a few guys that could even play at all. I don't know if they can play in the NBA, probably G League at best in the NFL.
Yeah. When you think
there's just a big difference between shooting a basketball and then catching or playing. There's so many positions in football. Like those guys are so athletically gifted with talent that I think a few NBA players could play in the NFL.
Well, when you think of like a massive receiver like DK or name a guy who's massive, like tall wise, and then you look and like you think those guys are just absolutely like huge out there. Jamal Murray's 6'4".
Yeah,
that's what like the tallest like top receivers are in the NFL are 6'4". Like those dudes look massive on the football field. Like Jamal Murray looks like a midget out there on the floor. Like some of these guys, the NBA players. Like I'm not saying that they're better athletes than the NFL guys, but some of these dudes are just like unicorns out there. I mean, with it, like, look at Anthony Edwards. He's like 6'8". Yeah, and the dude can jump out of the
guards
gym.
And they're 6'8". I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, Evan Mobley. I think that'll do it for this week's show.
If you enjoyed this week's show, make sure to come back next week where we'll recap everything that's going on in the sports world, including the NBA and NHL playoffs, as long as the PGA Championship. Remember, our show airs every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., now available on YouTube, WJHS Studios.